3 weeks. That's it. Just 3 weeks stand between you and a major shift that could directly affect your Social Security, your monthly income, and the financial stability of your household. If you rely on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, survivor benefits, or even if someone in your family does, this is not background noise. This is about your life, your groceries, your rent, your medical bills, your peace of mind. Right now, millions of Americans are waking up every day feeling stretched thinner than ever. Prices are still high. Savings are fragile. And for many households, Social Security isn't a supplement anymore. It's the backbone. It's what keeps the lights on. It's what puts food on the table. And now, with a major rule change approaching and a February 2026 stimulus update circulating through Washington, everything feels uncertain again. Here's the part that should grab your attention. This change is already locked into the calendar. It's not a rumor. It's not a far-off discussion. The clock is ticking, and most people still don't know how it could hit them personally. Some Americans could see adjustments that help them. Others could feel pressure they didn't see coming. And many won't realize what happened until after it shows up in their bank account. That's why this video matters. Not tomorrow, not next month. Right now. Because if you're counting on Social Security or planning too soon, you don't get the luxury of tuning this out. Decisions being finalized in the next 3 weeks will ripple into February 2026 and beyond. And whether that ripple feels like relief or stress depends on how informed you are today. Stay with me through this entire breakdown. Every section builds on the last. And by the end, you'll understand exactly why this moment matters so much and what you should be watching closely to protect your future and your family's financial footing. What's actually changing in Social Security? Let's slow this down and make it simple, because the headlines are confusing on purpose. When people hear Social Security rule change, panic sets in. But the truth is more layered than that. The upcoming change isn't about eliminating benefits, it's about how benefits are calculated, monitored, and adjusted moving forward. At the center of this shift is how eligibility reviews, income thresholds, and payment accuracy are being enforced. For years, the system leaned toward flexibility. Now it's tightening. The government says it's about efficiency and sustainability. But for you, the person depending on that check, it means one thing: less margin for error. Starting soon, Social Security will use more frequent data matching with tax records, employment databases, and federal income reports. That means if your income changes, even temporarily, it could trigger a review faster than ever before. For some people, that means corrections in their favor. For others, it could mean unexpected letters, pauses, or adjustments. Here's what makes this emotional. Many Americans on Social Security are doing everything right. They're not trying to game the system. They're just surviving. But when rules shift, even honest mistakes can feel like punishment. And there's more. Cost of living adjustment formulas are also under renewed scrutiny. While no official cut has been announced, lawmakers are debating how future increases are calculated. That doesn't affect February 2026 directly, but it sets the tone. It tells us how serious the government is about controlling long-term costs, even if that means slower growth for benefits. For you, this means awareness is power, knowing how your income is tracked, knowing what counts and what doesn't, knowing when to report changes and when not to panic. Because the system isn't just changing on paper, it's changing in how closely it watches you. Why February 2026 is suddenly a big deal. So why is everyone talking about February 2026? Why not March? Why not later in the year? Because February 2026 is when multiple financial timelines collide. First, it's when several temporary funding measures expire. These measures were quietly put in place to stabilize benefits during recent economic turbulence. Once they expire, Congress has to decide whether to extend them, replace them, or let them disappear. Second, February is when updated benefit calculations typically begin reflecting changes finalized at the end of the previous year. That makes it the first real checkpoint where Americans can feel the impact of policy decisions in their wallets. And third, this is important, February 2026 is being floated as a possible window for targeted stimulus-style relief. Not a universal check, not a headline-grabbing free-for-all, but focused assistance aimed at seniors, low-income households, and fixed-income Americans. Nothing is guaranteed yet, but the discussions are real, and the urgency around them is growing because lawmakers know how tight things already are for families like yours. This is why the next 3 weeks matter so much. Decisions made now shape what options are even available by February. Miss this window and the door closes. Who stands to benefit the most? Let's talk about you, because not everyone is affected the same way. If you're living on a fixed income, you're at the center of this conversation. Seniors, people with disabilities, survivors. These are the Americans lawmakers keep referencing when they talk about protecting the most vulnerable. If you're receiving SSI or SSDI, monitoring will increase, but so will attention on whether benefits are keeping up with real-world costs. Housing, food, healthcare. These aren't abstract numbers, they're daily stressors. If you're nearing retirement, this rule change could shape your timing decisions. When you claim matters, how much you earn matters, and even small choices now could echo for decades. And if you're supporting someone who relies on Social Security, this affects your family too. One change in benefits can shift the entire household budget. The key takeaway? This isn't one size fits all. Some people may see stability, others may feel pressure, but no one is untouched. The stimulus question. Everyone is asking. Let's address the word everyone is whispering. Stimulus. Is there a February 2026 stimulus coming? The honest answer, nothing is final, but something is being built. What's different this time is tone. Lawmakers aren't talking about massive checks. They're talking about relief mechanisms, targeted credits, and direct assistance. That sounds boring, but it's intentional. It's designed to pass quietly and quickly if approved. That means fewer people may qualify, but those who do could see meaningful help. For you, that means staying alert. Because when programs are targeted, awareness decides who benefits and who misses out. Why this feels so personal. Here's the emotional truth no policy memo will say out loud. Americans are tired. Tired of watching prices rise faster than paychecks. Tired of uncertainty. Tired of feeling like one letter in the mail could upend their entire month. Social Security isn't just a program, it's a promise. And when that promise feels shaky, it hits deep. That's why this moment matters. It's not politics, it's survival. What you should be watching right now. Over the next 3 weeks, pay attention to three things: official SSA announcements, congressional budget language, any updates tied to February timelines. Silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Often it means something is being finalized. Mistakes that could cost you: ignoring mail, not reporting changes correctly, assuming it won't affect me. Those are the mistakes that hurt the most because they're avoidable. Stay informed. Ask questions. Don't assume. Why staying informed is your best defense. Information isn't just power, it's protection. The people who benefit most aren't always the loudest. They're the most prepared, and preparation starts with paying attention now. Why the next 3 weeks are a financial pressure point. Right now, something unusual is happening behind the scenes, and most Americans never get to see this part. In the final weeks before a major policy window closes, decisions stop being theoretical. They become mathematical. Budget lines are locked in. Language is finalized. And once that happens, flexibility disappears. That's exactly why the next 3 weeks matter so much for you and your family. Lawmakers are under pressure from every direction. On one side, they're staring at long-term Social Security sustainability numbers that look uncomfortable. On the other, they're facing real Americans who can't absorb even a small disruption in monthly income. That tension creates rushed compromises, and rushed compromises are where unexpected consequences often sneak in. Here's the part that hits home. Once rules are finalized, there is no rewind button for the average household. Appeals take time, clarifications come late, and relief often arrives after the damage is already done. That's why awareness before changes hit is so critical. In these 3 weeks, agencies finalize how strictly new reporting rules are enforced. They determine how aggressive reviews will be, and they shape how February 2026 payments will reflect today's decisions. That means what's being debated now could show up in your account later, quietly, without warning. This is also when political attention is highest. After this window closes, focus shifts. Priorities change. And your issue becomes one item in a much longer list. So if this feels intense, it's because it is. These weeks are a pressure point, and pressure points decide outcomes. How confusion becomes the biggest risk. One of the most dangerous things about moments like this isn't bad policy, it's confusion. When rules change, misinformation spreads fast. Social media fills the gaps with half-truths. One person hears benefits are ending, another hears everyone's getting money, and suddenly anxiety takes over. For you, confusion can be costly. Some Americans panic and make changes they didn't need to make. Others ignore real warnings because they assume it's just another rumor. Both reactions can hurt your wallet. This is especially true for households juggling multiple income sources: a small side job, a temporary return to work, help from a family member. Under new monitoring systems, those details matter more, but they're rarely explained clearly. The system doesn't pause to make sure you understood. It moves forward. That's why clarity is survival right now. Understanding what counts as income, knowing when reporting is required, recognizing official communication versus noise. These details protect you from unnecessary stress. And here's the hard truth. The people who struggle most aren't the ones doing something wrong. They're the ones who didn't know the rules had shifted. What this means for your family's future plans. Let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just about next month or next year. Social Security decisions shape long-term family planning. When you retire, when you downsize, whether you can help your kids or grandkids, whether you feel safe aging in place. If benefits become more tightly monitored, families may need to plan more conservatively. If targeted relief becomes the norm, awareness becomes part of financial strategy. This moment is pushing Americans toward a new reality, one where passive reliance is replaced by active attention. Not because people want to be policy experts, but because they have to protect themselves. That shift changes how families talk about money, how they plan, how they support each other, and it all starts with understanding what's happening now. The emotional weight. No one talks about. Here's something rarely acknowledged. Financial uncertainty is exhausting. Not knowing whether a check will change, not knowing if rules shifted, not knowing if help is coming. That constant background stress wears people down. For seniors, it feels personal. For people with disabilities, it feels unfair. For families, it feels heavy. This isn't just about dollars. It's about dignity, about feeling secure in a system you paid into, about trusting that support won't suddenly vanish. That emotional weight is why moments like this matter so deeply. They remind Americans how fragile stability can feel and how important it is to protect it. So here we are, 3 weeks left. A major Social Security shift approaching, February 2026 hanging in the balance, and one truth standing above everything else: the people who stay informed are the ones who stay in control. You don't need to panic, but you do need to pay attention. You don't need to predict the future, but you do need to prepare for it. This channel exists for moments exactly like this, when your wallet, your family, and your future intersect with decisions being made far away. Stay connected, stay alert, and don't let silence fool you, because when it comes to your financial future, what you don't hear can matter just as much as what you do. If this information matters to you, staying informed isn't optional anymore. It's essential.